And good morning. Good morning. It is Thanksgiving week. Can you imagine? I can imagine. You don't have to imagine. It actually is what it is, and that is what it is. So I'm thinking, what do we do today? Do we talk about Thanksgiving? Oh, the turkey, cooking the turkey. Was it really a turkey that they actually cooked on the first Thanksgiving? I don't know. Do we talk about the fact that the exploration, the fact that we have these people coming over to, well, have these people, that people decided to leave their homeland to go find a new land, and how did that work? Do we talk about what it was like to actually live in a whole different world at the time? The rest of that stuff, well, I think all of that stuff is fascinating. And then of course, what about cooking the turkey? And then what about communications during Thanksgiving Day with, well, people with varying opinions? I'm sure there are. You know, politics, maybe not religion. It's a family, although if you're doing it with friends, you got religion all over the place. But you've got the politics, the mask, the COVID. There's so many different things. But I'm thinking right back in the beginning, it's like, why? If we talk about anything, we talk about someone who creates a business. It's like, well, why'd you get started in the first place? Well, because. If we talk about somebody being involved in a nonprofit, and there's been a number of folks that I've gotten to meet that are in their 20s that are considering helping society out in a few different ways. And my question to them is always, why? Most of the time, there's some sort of a story back there, either a personal situation, or perhaps they just saw something in the news that just said, like, that just can't be. It just can't be. Why is it that people treat other people like that? Why? Gosh, do we see that in the news all the time? Why? What is it? Why behind the whole thing? Well, what do you do? Let's go back to our pilgrims over there. Well, why? Why'd they come here? And they even know what it's another question too. Did they even know where they were going? How could they have? They didn't Google it. There was no Google. That's a fact. There's no Google. There's no Google. What the heck? Could you imagine? It should be interesting. Could you imagine what it was like? Who sold them on this idea? Said, hey, look, here's what we need. We need a couple of ships. We got people that are interested in leaving, and we're gonna go that way. We hope. There was no engine on those boats. Sails. Those boats. Those boats. If you take a look at some of the replica of those boats that came across, they're tiny. They're small. Did they know what they were in for when it came to? Well, they didn't know where they were going. So did they know what they were in for at all? In any respect, like crossing the ocean, had no idea how big it was. I didn't even know if the world was round. Not sure when somebody figured out that the world was round. And then, if the world is round, it's crazy. So if you think about this, right? Let's go back to the 1400s. If somebody told you, "Hey, we're going to get on a ship and we're going to go out in the ocean. We're going to go find land someplace. Where? I don't know. That way. Just going to keep going. We're going to fall off the end of the world." No, 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 no. That's not true. It's not true. That's fake news. We're not going to fall off the world is round. We're just going to sail around to the other side of the globe, of the circle, that kind of thing. So wait a second. So if we're going to sail around and we're on the top because we're standing up, what happens when we get on the other side? Won't we be on the bottom? Won't we be upside down? I don't know. Would you have thought of that? Would your line of thinking go that way? Or would you say, nah, the world spins, it circles around the sun. We're part of a galaxy, that's why the stars move and stuff like that. I wonder. I wonder. I really wonder. Well, I found this video that we're going to play over here that, well, I don't know if it's going to do all of that stuff justice, but when you're watching it, You're thinking about it today. Today we're gonna focus on some of the why side of it. It's like, why? What was in their minds when they left? Why did they leave? Why were they so unbelievably focused on saying, you know what? That's it. That's it. We're out of here. We're gone. Whatever the future holds, the future holds. We're gone. We're going. We're going. Maybe all of them were not followers. They didn't just follow Christopher Columbus. Maybe all of them were entrepreneurs, adventurers, crazy stuff. And how much food did they get? Amazon didn't deliver. They had to go get their own. How did that work? Well, just meeting up with the Indians, and who knew they were there was the thing to do. Who knew? Wonder what they thought of the Vikings. When knew of the Vikings? Or was that too far in the past? Must have known about it. I don't know. Well, let's jump over to this video in the meantime, though. Maybe we'll answer some of these questions. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll have on a history professor tomorrow. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll do, I don't know. Maybe we'll just enjoy a little video. We'll see how that goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Let's do a little share screen over here. We'll pop that on. Bam, there we go. Let's make this full screen. This way, or theater mode. How does that sound? Oh, that sounds fantastic. Let's go with the full screen. Oh, full screen is even better. There we go. I can even play it on the TV. Let my wife know what's going on. Here you go. Can you imagine? Hey, here's how you watch this thing. All right, let's stay focused. I forgot I'm doing a professional video here. Let's keep that moving along. All right, ready? Reasons. This is through captivating history. Isn't it a little something that I picked up on before I jump over to this thing? And it's what is copyrighted or not? I had one issue. I was doing something about I'm doing a prior video. One video was fine, no copyright issue. The other one was copyright issue, so the thing got blocked. I didn't know until afterwards, and don't know. So if anybody wants to help me out on that one, it's like, what am I looking for here? The things that can play and not play. So hopefully this one does. Here we go. This is Captivating History. Is the one who produced this one. We give them full credit. I did not do it. On this one, we are going to talk about the Pilgrims. All right, there we go. The reasons the Pilgrims came to America
is brought to you by Captivating History. The Pilgrims hold a special spot in American culture. Every November, school children make turkey tracings with their hands. Thanksgiving performances are put on about the Pilgrims and the Mayflower. Everyone looks forward to feasting and seeing their families. But there's much more to them than is often discussed during the holiday season. The Pilgrims started across the ocean in England to escape religious persecution, intending to make the new colony in America. Blown off course, they landed in Cape Cod, New England. They would go on to establish Plymouth Colony and make their indelible mark in American history, with Plymouth Rock growing in legend around dinner tables every year. Let's delve into the full story about who the Pilgrims were and how they got here. What made the Pilgrims want to leave for a new world in the first place? Their relocation, in part, can be traced back to the strict English rules making it illegal not to be a part of the Church of England. A small group of separationists would meet in Nottinghamshire, England, wanting to practice their own faith separate from the Central Church of England. But the Act of Uniformity of 1559 made it illegal not to attend church service at the Church of England, fining those missing attendance. Under increasing stress from the government and the Church of England, they decided that they would have to leave if they wanted to practice their faith. This would prove difficult. To leave legally, they had to sign documents saying why they were leaving, gain royal approval from the king, and state that they intended to return. Since they couldn't do that, they had to be smuggled out, which they were to do with the assistance of various Dutch captains. Their first choice for the colony was in Holland, which was full of Protestants. They initially settled in Amsterdam, but that city proved too big and not the right fit. So they landed in Leiden, Holland. And for a time, it worked. Some people found jobs and supported themselves, but others had trouble adjusting. Some gave up and went back to England. The leaders of the faith grew worried that others would follow suit and go back to their old lives. Many found that working conditions in Leiden's textile industry was unbearable. The former farmers lived in poverty, laboring long hours for low pay, making it difficult to convince fellow separationists to join them in Holland. William Bradford related, "Some preferred and chose the prisons in England rather than this liberty in Holland with these afflictions." But things were going to get worse. The collapse of the wool market, the 30 Years' War, and the upcoming end to a 12-year truce between the Dutch Republic and Spain turned their safe haven into an unsettling fight for survival. Adding to that, the separatists worried that the same tolerant Dutch society they ran to was corrupting their family morals. Their children were turning away from the church and their English identity. Again, Bradford wrote that many of their children were succumbing to Leiden's manifold temptations and being drawn away by evil examples into extravagant and dangerous courses. Thus, many thoughts of a better place swirled in the separatists' mind. They knew they couldn't go back to England because of religious reasons, so they considered the New World, where English merchants had been financing colonial settlements for decades. They felt they could worship freely and find economic stability while preserving their English identity and religious morals. Evangelical ideas also called them across the Atlantic.
By advertising on YouTube, I catch the eye of my ideal customers at the right time. I can connect with someone like Corey, whose passion.
Bradford wrote, "The propagating and advancing the gospel of the kingdom of Christ in those remote parts of the world was part of the draw to America." Lastly, there was the possibility of a monetary enterprise. After receiving a patent from the Virginia Company to establish a settlement in its American jurisdiction, the Merchant Adventurers, a group of 70 businessmen from London, paid for the Mayflower, its crew, and a year's worth of supplies. The Pilgrims had found their way, their passage to America. But it was not just a passage. Their benefactors required the Pilgrims to work for them for the first 7 years in America, with each colonist over the age of 16 receiving one share of the company for emigrating and working the land. Pilgrims would also retain any future profits after the 7-year contract expired. Their plans and future set, the Pilgrims set out for their American journey on July 21st, 1620, initially sailing on the Speedwell, but that ship proved unseaworthy. It was ultimately the Mayflower that would bring the Pilgrims to the New World. It was an arduous journey of 65 days before they spotted land on November 9, 1620. There was a spot of brightness during that terrible time. Susanna White gave birth to the first baby born on this trip, a boy named Peregrine. Once land was seen, they determined they were in New England, pulling into the port of Plymouth. On November 11, 1620, the Pilgrims set foot on American land. It would be a while before they made contact with the natives, but they saw their cook fires and other traces of them around. They found their corn and beans and took them, thinking they would repay them once they were established. They finally set themselves up on what is now Plymouth Colony. Working tirelessly throughout the winter was very difficult. They lacked the manpower to build quickly, and many fell gravely ill. In January and February of 1621, many of the Pilgrims died and were buried in unmarked graves. There had been limited contact with the natives until Samoset. On March 16, 1621, a man boldly walked up to the common house and introduced himself as Samoset, speaking in English. He welcomed them, explained he was from the Abenaki tribe, and was a chieftain. He also said he learned English from the fishermen and trappers up in Maine, where he came from. He elaborated a bit on his visit. The great chief of the Wampanoag Confederacy, Massasoit, wanted to meet with them to discuss an alliance for protection against another confederation, the Narragansetts. Samoset gave them a few days to think about it. He returned a few more times with pelts and other natives who wanted to trade with them. Samoset also introduced them to Squanto, kidnapped by the Spanish and brought to Spain to be a slave. Miraculously, he made his way to England and was able to return to his home, only to find that his whole village had been ravaged by a smallpox plague and was emptied out when he returned. Squanto spoke fluent English because of those unfortunate events and had been taken in by Massasoit after explaining his situation. Squanto told the Pilgrims how tensions were difficult. Other Englishmen had slain Massasoit's people after a false welcome, but he recognized the need to form alliances with other English people. Squanto offered to become a liaison between Massasoit and the English. On March 22, 1621, in Plymouth Colony, Massasoit came to meet with Governor John Carver. Squanto translated during these negotiations, and an agreement was made. The colonists would pay for the food they had taken from the natives the previous winter, and the natives would return some of the tools they had taken from the colonists. They also agreed there would be no visible weapons when meeting with each other, and if any crimes or offenses were made, they would be arbitrated between the two parties. If another party attacked, they would have each other's back. This treaty would ultimately last 50 years, and both parties left the negotiations satisfied. Squanto and Samoset's aid didn't end there. They stayed behind to help the Pilgrims learn how to grow food and flourish in that environment. They taught the Pilgrims how to grow peas, corn, barley, and learn how to catch eels, which became a yearly Pilgrim tradition. They were taught how to collect pelts, use fish as manure, and took them on expeditions in the surrounding areas to show them how to live and survive in the area. Squanto and William Bradford, a notable colonist who later was governor, became close, and Bradford would heed Squanto's advice in the coming years. The first Thanksgiving would be celebrated that year in October 1621. Edward Winslow, a leader in the separatist movement, had come over on the Mayflower and was one of the leader of the separationists. And what we know of the first Thanksgiving is thanks to his writings. Relations with the natives were good, and the Pilgrims owed a lot to Squanto and Samoset. The Pilgrims had a 3-day celebration with their native neighbors, with over 91 members of the Wampanoag tribe and 53 Pilgrims coming together to feast. At first, the Pilgrims were worried about having enough food, but the natives came with plenty of deer, lobster, fish, crops, and berries. There was enough for all. It wasn't until 1863, during Abraham Lincoln's presidency, that this would become a national holiday. The year after their arrival, the Pilgrims received word from their benefactors, who were not happy that they hadn't officially signed their contract before departing, and that the Pilgrims sent the Mayflower back empty of cargo as a repayment of debt. The Pilgrims hurriedly signed the contract, wanting to assemble cargo to send back immediately. The governor wrote back saying that many had died. The Pilgrims had worked tirelessly through an extremely difficult winter, and their lives were worth more than profit. The Pilgrims still wanted to send back goods and came up with pelts and other riches, enough to cover half of their debt. But a French ship intercepted the fortune on the way back, robbing them of their cargo, though it did allow the letter to be delivered. This set the Pilgrims even heavier in debt, but they continued tirelessly on, repaying their debt in full. The Puritans came not long after the Pilgrims and flourished. Within a generation, the Pilgrims melded with them, with the Quakers arriving not long after. Despite their small members, their values of freedom, free choice, community, as well as their tenacity in terms of living through that first harsh winter, have been emulated in today's American culture. To this day, we still honor and follow many of their ideologies. To learn more about the Pilgrims, check out our book, The Pilgrims, a captivating guide to the passengers on board the Mayflower who founded the Plymouth Colony, and their relationship with the Native Americans along with their legacy in New England. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.
There you go. A little bit more of the background of the Pilgrims and some of the other groups that would follow along with that one. So they did have some sort of an idea, right? Let's see. Columbus was many years prior to the Pilgrims going, so they knew that the Earth was, or there was a destination involved over there. But still, the idea of going and taking that kind of a trip is actually kind of or moving into that whole entire new lifestyle is kind of massive, massive. So give them a lot of credit for taking on that kind of an adventure and taking those chances. But they were prosecuted a lot. It's another one of these things, obstacles, that they faced back where they came from, and moving around even that side of it from quite a bit. Trying to figure out a way to make it happen. So Thanksgiving, it's not all about the turkey. In fact, maybe it was more about those eels that appeared on an annual basis. Could you imagine serving eels on an annual basis over here? I don't know. Somehow that turkey got introduced to the whole equation. I tend to think it was more fish. That's what I had read someplace. It was much more fish. You got to think, right? They're right on the waterfront. That seems to make sense. Fish, corn, all those other kind of crops that that were there doing that whole thing. It's a nice story the way they phrased it out over there. I wonder if we can see what the Indians' point of view on that whole thing was like. Who were these people? Why are all these people, these Europeans, coming to that land, where they were living, and do that? But you'd also see some of the names of those tribes. We've kept quite a few of them, adapted them a bit as time has gone by, and you recognize some of those areas. Cape Cod, certainly there. I still think it was absolutely amazing, absolutely incredible to take that kind of a chance to go into that unknown world. Yet we still do it. We still do it. Maybe we as a people, and I mean we as an entire people, have this innate curiosity that we just want to continue to explore different things. Keep doing that. So I find so many things fascinating. I love the idea of history, of learning from stuff that we've done in the past that was good. Hopefully we learn from some of the stuff that we've done in the past that was bad and don't repeat it. I don't know. Tend to repeat a lot of things, don't we? Probably shouldn't. Probably shouldn't. But if we could take those things that people have done in the past, that curiosity side of it, and try to figure out how to use that in order to better society, in order to better our relationships with people. I do hope all of stuff that was written on there from Bradford's point of view of how helpful everybody was, the challenges they faced, yes, the losses they faced, yes, but how that was received. Oh, they took the Indians' food, and the Indians just took tools in kind of retaliation. And then they figured out a way at one of the future meetings as to how to deal with different crimes that came up together. I don't know. I got a feeling there's a little bit more to that story than was there. I don't know how we're ever going to know that. Who knows? We got one person wrote a diary, kept notes on the whole thing, and that's where it comes from. His point of view. If we'd ever be able to figure out what the true Indians' point of view was on the whole thing, about how those immigrants came over from another world and continued to colonize what became known as America, and doing that whole thing. Don't know. Really don't know. But Thanksgiving is a lot. It's a lot more than just a day off from work. It's a lot more than just getting together with the family for a celebration. It's a lot more than everything. Every holiday is a lot more than just what it is on the face of it. And maybe that's something that we all need to spend a lot more time on also, is understanding why these holidays got created in the first place, where it was, what actually made Lincoln decide to make it a national holiday. I wonder what it was. I wonder. See if we can figure that one out. I wonder if he used this as a tool, an obstacle, or or something that was, if he used it as a tool to overcome an obstacle. Maybe he did it as a way of trying to bring the United States together, all those independent states together to celebrate one thing. Wonder what the time frame was on that one when it came to that and the Civil War, or the splitting apart of the North and the South. When he did that, why he did that, kind of interesting. Well, that would be interesting to learn more about. So we'll do that. We're going to continue on over the next couple of days. Today's a Monday. Over the next couple of days, we're going to continue on here about this Thanksgiving thing. See if we learn a little bit more about the history of it and that whole thing. Perhaps have a little bit of fun on Wednesday, but we'll do that. We'll learn a little bit more. Well, we got it from the Pilgrims' point of view. I'll see if I can find something else. Doing that. Maybe we'll get something a little bit more from the Indians' point of view, or from Lincoln's point of view, who actually made it into a national holiday. Another, couple of 100 years later. That was in the 1800s, 1863, I think the year was, that he made it a national holiday. And then perhaps a little bit more about how we're celebrating it today and cooking and things like that. I'll find out who's doing some of those cooking classes, and I know that there are a couple are, definitely are. That Wednesday before Thanksgiving has always been a special day, for me. Kind of love that one. It's been just a fun day. It's like, how do you prepare the food, start cooking, getting yourself all organized, for the next day and that kind of thing. Or maybe you're preparing for a turkey trot run, maybe just preparing to get in the car and drive someplace, but whatever it might be. And maybe even doing someone's radio show. Big thank you to that fellow, for that one. And I know I got another group over there that's replaying another radio show that I did. I got a chance to interview the interviewers, on that one. So that'll also be Wednesday night, big Wednesday night. So we're going to reach out to a few. If you're doing anything special on Wednesday nights, let me know. Maybe we'll share it with people. You have any events, virtual events too? Oh, I bet you that's something too. Yeah, that's right. And think about that. But these travel companies, with COVID, a lot of them are doing virtual events. Had a chance on Halloween to go visit with Dracula. Didn't do it this year, but it did do it prior year. And that trip to Transylvania. Oh, that was an exciting one. So let's see. Who knows? Maybe somebody's doing the tour of the Pilgrims. Take a trip up to Cape Cod, Plymouth Rock, see what's going on there. That could be a lot of fun. Whatever it is, hey, listen, enjoy. We all have these different reasons that we do things. We all have these different obstacles that we face, and then we try to find some opportunity with it. The Pilgrims did it. They were facing all kinds of obstacles, and they found an opportunity. It took them a while to do it. They finally found a group to finance them, and then that happened, allowing them to gain the ships, the transportation, the food for a year. After that, a few more obstacles came forward. Wonder what happened on the end of that one. Don't know. A lot of things in this world to go figure out. But they found out a way, some strategy to make it happen for them. Perhaps that's the big lesson to take from Thanksgiving. Not necessarily how to cook a turkey or how to get the conversation going with everybody. But maybe is the fact that those Pilgrims, they face some challenges. Sure did the Indians too. Facing challenges with a whole new group of people. They worked their way through it. Maybe that's what we all should do. Take that as a thing of Thanksgiving. Figure out how to work through the different challenges that we face and turn them into opportunities. As always, speak well, speak often, and live inspired.